Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for showing up here tonight. Good evening. So appreciate you guys taking time out of your week to join us on here. I am planning to make it worth your while. Nathan Charles, my co-conspirator, is having some technical difficulties. We've been text messaging back and forth. He should be joining us in a couple of minutes, but if he doesn't, I will be teaching from our mutually prepared outline, but I hope he does arrive. His insights are always just spot on, and it would be a shame if he doesn't make it. But I will endeavor to bring my A game to this. We've got some really cool stuff to share with you. And I see we've still got a bunch of guys coming on. We had a little over 500 registrations, and generally about 20% of those people end up showing up live online, and we've already passed about 150. So this is a very good turnout. So again, thank you so much for showing up. Little housekeeping before we begin, as always. If you are near a cell phone, or if you have other browser windows open and you're kind of reading one thing and also listening to this, I strongly recommend you shut that stuff off, and that you get a pencil and paper, a pen and paper, or maybe just open up a note-taking software so that you can kind of take some notes. You'll be glad you did, I think, because I'm going to cover some pretty cool stuff. And shut the door, clear away the distractions. If you're going to spend some time at this, I want you to get out of it, something that's worth your time. So at the end, we will, hopefully somewhere in the middle, we're going to be taking questions. And my experience with this, every time I've ever done one of these webinars, is that there's some technical complications. Sometimes the sound and the video goes out of sync. There's all kinds of shit. But we managed to teach some great stuff. But every single time, it's in the Q&A that the very best stuff happens. Your question, your burning question, is usually exactly the thing that I end up kicking myself for not having put into my outline. That's because very frequently, I don't know what I don't know. We're going to be talking specifically about the things that you don't know are missing in your life in order to really feel fully empowered as a man. And that's pretty significant, because what happens is we try all the time to get this thing that we want. We want this thing, we're trying to get it, we're trying to get it. We know it's wrong and we should have it, and we're trying to get it, and we're trying to get it. And you might never get it that way because you're missing something that doesn't allow you to get it, but you don't know that you're missing that thing. And the fastest result to getting what you want is getting that thing that's missing and not working on that other thing. So that is what we're going to cover here today, and it's some pretty interesting stuff. So first of all, who's on the call? Well, obviously I'm here, and I think most of you know who I am. I've been teaching men about sex, intimacy, and masculinity for about 10 years now. Hopefully Nathan Charles will be joining me. He is a mentor of mine, and among other things, a high-level coach to very highly functioning men at the edge of their game, who are generally world leaders, CEOs, government leaders. And he's not generally available to this crowd, which is why it's so cool that we've got him hopefully here tonight shortly, and certainly for the upcoming live event in Phoenix. And then there's all of you guys, and you're a special group of men. You're men who are ready to have the kind of confidence and self-trust that allows you to really make a difference in life. You're looking for your life purpose, freedom, financial freedom, love, the things that I think everybody says they want. Very few people actually take radical steps and look themselves in the mirror and say, how can I become that man? They just kind of feel like, well, I'm not the person that gets that in this lifetime. So really honored to have you guys here. Just to briefly tell you how this call happened. Aha! And it looks like we have Mr. Charles. Nathan, you want to say hello so we know that you're working?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Is this working?
It's working.
Great.
Perfect. I was just talking about what a remarkable beast you are. Um, but I will just kind of charge ahead, and you'll play catch up, and then jump into the content with us.
Sounds good?
Great, great. So as I just mentioned, Nathan's been an unbelievable mentor to me. I made huge strides in my life, in my purpose, in my my personal freedom, my ability to contribute since having him in my life as a friend and as a mentor. And when I first set out to create a program specifically about how men can step into the power of their masculinity, obviously he was on my mind, right? He was the guy who taught me so much of this, who gave me so much of what I'm going to be teaching. And we had just set up a weekly call to kind of talk about things we might collaborate on. And I mentioned this, and he got very excited about it. And so, here we are, kind of doing this together, and we're doing it for some big reasons. I think that there's on the one hand, of course, every man who's on here, I want you to get incredible results in your life. I want you to, selfishly and indulgently enjoy the shit out of your life. If I can give you that, I will have fulfilled, a major piece of purpose in my life. Then the bigger game is the more extraordinary men there are in the world, the better the chances are that the whole planet is going to do well. You guys will be paying this forward to the men that you mentor, to your sons, to your brothers and the other men in your life, and of course to your woman and to your community and maybe to the planet. And so it is my fervent wish, I think our fervent wish, that you exceed us in every way. And we're really believers in that. I think that it's safe to say that every man has a certain teacher. I had the experience in martial arts where I had some teachers who I couldn't understand what the hell they were trying to teach me, and there were other teachers who I just got their teaching style. They were my teacher, and I made huge progress under them. And I don't know that we're every man's best teacher, but I can tell you we are the best in the world for some of you. The best in the world for some of you. And if you're those guys, we're gonna throw our hearts into this. So as I said, we're going to share some really cool ideas. We've got a couple of stories to tell. We are going to answer your burning questions, and also we have a little ethical bribe, a little surprise at the end for those of you who are interested in joining us in Phoenix. And we're also going to talk a little bit about our new live stream options. So we got a lot of ground to cover. And with that, Nathan, it turns out that when we did our survey and we asked men about the things that they thought they most wanted, that they thought they could get out of achieving manhood, the things they felt that held them back from achieving their full potential as a man, one of the most common answers we saw was, "I don't know." What do you make of that, my friend?
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know was the answer to what would grow me as a man, what's next for me as a man. And honestly, I don't know is a cop-out. It's a way to hide behind something. Now, I'm not criticizing the men who said I don't know, because the feeling of I don't know was present for those men who answered I don't know. And if you were one of those men, then I believe you really didn't know. But when I saw that, and I saw it was so common, and I reflected on my own coaching work with men and the circles I've done, whenever I get a man at the mic and he says I don't know, I just pause. And for anyone listening, if you answered I don't know, what's next for me as a man, I would encourage you to just let yourself go beyond that, because I don't know is really covering up your greatness. There's something next for you that feels great to you and everyone around you, but it's always scary. I don't care how developed you are. My next step is scary for me. There's men that are way more developed than me, and their next step is scary for them. So really the I don't know is a kind of a freeze. It's like a caught in the headlights kind of a thing. Even if it feels like you sincerely don't know, I know that if we sat together for a little while, there'd be something that would come up that would inspire you and probably scare you as to what is next for you, and that you actually do know it if you let yourself go deeper than I don't know. Alex, what more should we say about that? I mean, how to go deeper than I don't know?
I think there's just a couple of things that I'd love to throw in there from things that you said to me, actually. Because this actually arose for us as a topic because we were going through the survey results together. And Nathan said, look at all this I don't know, which I was ignoring the I don't knows. I was looking for the bits that you guys wanted to learn. And Nathan was saying that there's two kinds of I don't know. And I took some notes when you were talking. And one of the I don't knows you said is a humble, true, living in the mystery and being real. In other words, the I don't know is the beginning of an exploration. It's the beginning of, wow, I just realized that I don't know that. I wasn't thinking about it before, but now I've realized I don't know it, and now it's a beginning. And the other I don't know is just a cop-out. It's, the teacher says, can anyone tell me, the battle that ended the Civil War? And everybody goes, I don't know. The kids are all, I don't know, because they know the teacher's going to give them the answer. Mathematics, by the way. But I mean, they know the teacher's going to give them the answer. So it's a laziness, but you can't get lazy about your own life. And there's something that we call a consideration that Nathan taught me, which is really bringing your mental focus, your emotional focus, maybe your physical being, maybe your spiritual focus to a single problem. And, if you don't know the battle that ended the Civil War, I think that's probably okay. That's totally okay to be lazy in that I don't know, unless you're a history professor. But if your I don't know is what's next for me as a man, that will stall you, man. That will take your ass out of the game. It's too big for I don't know. That's a bad reflexive response there. And the jujitsu that we're inviting you into is and that we're going to do a lot of work around in the live program in Phoenix. We're going to really help coach you around finding your truth in these matters, so that you can use I don't know as a diving board, not as a chair, right?
That's a great metaphor, Alex. That really distinguishes, I don't know as a diving board versus a chair. In this program, we're going to help you in those areas where you don't know. We're going to find out what pisses you off. What do you complain about is a pointer to what's next for you. The progress of a man is often something bothers the hell out of him. And a lot of men stop there. They just watch the TV and they throw their shoe at it once in a while and they grumble all the time. You've all met those old men that are just like that. But the next step for a man after a complaint is, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to relate to this in a way that is powerful for me and is my unique gift? Alex and I believe strongly that each man has a unique gift to give. It's a gift so big he can't see it because it's so much who he is. But the I don't know is the access for you to start to see this gift and to start to value it. And there's a number of ways. Looking for what you're complaining about and pissed off about is just a little taste of how deep we're going to go in this seminar.
Cool. Speaking of the seminar, while you kind of chat with them a little bit, I'm actually going to put a little link up because we have the technology to put up a link for those of you who might be joining us that don't know about the seminar yet, because I know that our friend Christian actually asked if he could He's a guy I've been working with for a while. Just a great guy, and he has a dating list. Nathan met with him recently, and he asked us if he could send his guys over to join this thing that was really just for my closed group. And I said, of course, because the more men we can impact, the better. So some of you guys are on here. I'm going to just kind of throw that link up so that you guys can see that. We are doing a live event in Phoenix where we're going to take a small group of men through this process and bring them to their next level as a man. I'm going to see if I can figure that out. If there's something you want to say about Phoenix, do that while I do this.
Well, Phoenix is really what's got me collaborating with Alex. That's what he dangled in front of me, because for me, for my great gift, the next thing you learn, once you learn what your great gift is, you learn what kind of context are you responsible for creating to give that gift so that it can be received. And my context is working with a small group of men. And so that's like crack to me. Because the joy that I feel in my body, the happiness, the smile on my face when I go to bed at night, when I've spent a day working through real life challenges that sincere men bring, and the wisdom that they bring to me and the learning that I get from that process is a profound exchange. And so this theme, How to Man, for this seminar is not just a marketing gig. It's literally, here's how to man. And the pain that we feel as men is, in my opinion, mostly about the shallow cultural messages that we tend to absorb growing up, coupled with parenting that's often loving but indifferent, and or lacking in certain ways. And so, after we're launched into the world as very young men, then it's our job to develop ourselves, and that's how great men happen. And this seminar might as well be called From Good to Great. And it's the kind of thing where you take it into your life, and right away there's huge changes, just insights that just click so hard that they change who you are and what you do. And then there's what I call time bombs. You'll be in some situation 2 years after this seminar, and you'll hear Alex's voice whispering in your ear, and you're like, holy shit, that's what he meant. And it continues to develop you. What's that, Alex?
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Use the
like Obi-Wan Kenobi, ghostly appearing at your ear. Trust the Force. Yeah, exactly like that. So I just can't imagine a better situation than we're creating in this seminar to both give value and have the exchange that brings both me and Alex the most joy and is square in our zone of expertise and competence.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so obviously if you're free that weekend of April 11th, you're going to want to join us. I should also mention there's 11 seats left, 12, I think 12 seats left. So, because we want to intentionally keep the room small. So that's what's going on with that. But for those of you who can't make it, we've been putting up these webinars. For those of you guys who've been reading my newsletters, I've been putting out just a bunch of stories with lessons in them that I learned along the way. Between now and the event, I'm going to be sending more, whether you join us in Phoenix or not. Just got a lot of stuff that I really want you to share. I want you to get as much as possible, because I understand obviously not everybody's going to be able to attend. And one of the things that we want to do right now is share one of these what you don't know things. This was again something that I learned from Nathan, and it just clicked to me. I was like, right, of course. And as I said at the top of the call, there are areas of your life, there are things that piss you off, or you want to change, that you're ashamed of. Other things that you want, it could be like, why can't I reach financial freedom, or why can't I find the woman that I want to fall in love with, or, you know, they're just whatever that thing is. There's that thing that you feel like you're missing, that confidence, that whatever. And you go to work directly on that. And you start working on, how do I be confident, or how do I get women, or there's this thing that you work on, you work on it, you work on it, you work on it, and it's like fucking dragging a sled of rocks across something sticky. and you can't figure out why it's so hard, and it's because you're missing something. There's something you're missing, but you don't know that you're missing it because it's, for you, normal. You don't know that you're missing it. And if instead of working on getting that thing you want, you worked on recovering that thing that you're missing, that you don't know you're missing, it could free you up. It could launch you forward with such ease. And I have a personal story of how this happened exactly that way for me. I mean, exactly that way. I was stalled into my 40s, and I was missing something. Just didn't know that I was missing it, however. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I kind of want Nathan to unpack this for you. You had a term for it, pathological normals.
Yes, pathological normals. Yeah. Do with how our personality is built up through childhood. You know, we're born with a certain character, and then it develops from there. But there's always things in our environment that appear perfectly normal to us. Behaviors, they're pretty much all behaviors, but ways of being, ways of expressing emotion, or suppressing emotion, particularly in the emotional realm. Like a very common pathological normal for men is, for instance, not to express joy. Like, it's just not cool to be just jumping for joy. It's actually completely in a healthy sense, if you're feeling joy that would have you jump up and down, to be jumping up and down with it and expressing it and sharing that. But, you know, for many men, that's labeled as too expressive, as not cool, as gay, or something that, you know, most men in middle school don't want to be. And if for instance, you don't know, if it seems normal to you to suppress joy, then you're going to be going through life suppressing joy and suppressing your expression of joy. And you won't even be looking for sources of joy, because joy is something that you're not supposed to express, and that's normal, and so you don't even think about it or notice it. And there's many examples like this that we could unpack. This is, in an extreme sense, this is how children who suffer abuse become abusers, because being abusive occurs to a small child as normal, and that leaves a deep imprint. And later in life, when the grown-up finds themselves in the same situation where as a child they were abused, then they become an abuser. This is very, very common, well-known pattern. Just to give an extreme example. So we are going to try and unpack some of the pathological normals in our group of men and start to connect them to the possibility of living with a healthy normal. And renormalization it's a deep process, but once you see and understand the power of dropping your pathological normal and bringing on that, it's like reconnecting something that should have been connected. It's almost like wiring. There's a feeling of wiring in the body, like unplugging something and plugging something back in. Then all of a sudden, holy shit, the spaceship works a lot better. And new abilities come online, new sensitivities, new capacities for expression, new capacities for listening, new intelligences. And like Alex said, it's almost like unbuckling that sled that you've been pulling along in order to get the result out there that you want. When you renormalize, particularly in our emotional expression, then 1,000 pounds falls off your back, and the world will relate to you differently and in a better way, and you'll be happier. So that's one of the areas that we're going to explore.
Yeah, and let me just quickly add, as we go down this little checklist that we have here. it can't be exhaustive, particularly because there are some that are just really outliers that, that nobody would suspect is like, your little neurotic thing that for no fault of your own, you just didn't get that was normal. Mine was just a shit show for me, and I didn't even know it. And I didn't imagine it. So we may not be able to cover all of them, but really pay attention to these and really honestly examine. These are some really common ones. Really examine if this is something that is missing for you, that you think it's normal and okay that it's missing, because it can derail your whole life. So I really recommend you focus in on what we're about to go through.
Yeah, because that was kind of high level, Alex, I just want to give an example from my own life that was recent. I'm pushing 50, and there's part of me that's embarrassed about what I'm about to tell you, because it's so profound, and it's the kind of thing that I should have noticed a long time ago. But what I noticed late last year, I noticed in myself that I had a tendency to experience an emotion, just any ordinary daily emotion, and my immediate habit, because this was normalized in my childhood, was to suppress the emotion or make it wrong, to judge it or filter it or try and control it, act like it was not me. I really had this whole complex of filtering and suppressing my emotions. And for me, that had to do with, there was a period in my childhood where I was neglected, and I discovered, because I could smell something, even though it was normal for me, I could smell something was off. Like I was a little different from people that I admired the most, men that felt the most emotionally connected. So I started investigating, and I just discovered there's this pattern that many men have. If there's a degree, not even serious neglect, but a degree of neglect in childhood. And I started doing the exercises recommended by a therapist for renormalizing my emotions, and it has completely changed my life. Even now, like, I have a revolution in feeling. All of a sudden, I have instant Technicolor access to my true feelings, whereas before they were filtered, slow, foggy. I can't even describe it. And I feel alive and full instead of empty and sort of borrowing other feelings and wondering why other people were so passionate at certain times and thinking they were a little weird to be feeling so much when I was the weird. And just that discovery, it's been a profound change in my life.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Should I jump into my story about what I was missing now, or
yeah, because I think it's important to, because this is a little abstract unless we tell stories about it.
Okay. So one of the things that's on our list is a good mentor, the help of a mentor. And when I was 39, still working to create a career, I was a complete failure. And there was this several weeks, where the last thing I'd been working on as a writer had fallen apart. And I was penniless. And at that point, I'd been working on and off as a bartender for almost 20 years. And I thought, well, I'm gonna have to go find a bartending job again, because I'm out. I had no money. My career just refused to launch. And at that time, I had just lost a lease because I hadn't paid my rent in California. And I was trying to figure out if I was better served getting a job back in California or back in New York, where I'm from. And so while I was kind of sorting that out, I had also come to visit my parents, who I hadn't seen for a while. And that's when I found out that I had lost this apartment. And I was sitting there in an upstairs bedroom of my parents' home at 39 years old with no money and no prospect of how I was going to make money. I'd been bartending at a dance club where all the bartenders were, between 21 and 25. And I was about to turn 40. And I was wondering what this would look like at 40 and at 41 and at 42 and at 43 and at 44. And I didn't believe that I could do anything else but this thing that I was failing at, and bartending. And I was 39, and in that moment, and for several weeks afterwards, I was living with my parents. I was 39, living with my parents. That was my reality. And I just, like, when I thought about it, it was such crushing pain. I'm a pretty smart guy. You know, I did well scholastically, and then I dropped out of college to kind of do some other things, and nothing worked out. And there I was. And what was missing for me that I didn't know was missing, because I was just charging at this, you know, this thing on the horizon that I thought that I could do as a writer. I was trying to be a screenwriter, and I had this idea in my mind that, you know, if I could just write what it was that people were buying, then I'd be fine. And I'm a smart guy, so I could decode that. Of course, I could decode that. I needed to figure out what people were buying and then just write that. And I've been doing that for 20 years. I didn't have a mentor. And it was around that time I met our very, very close mutual friend, Evan Pagan. And one of the reasons I didn't have a mentor, by the way, is because I didn't look for one. I didn't look for one because I didn't know I was missing one. And because I didn't know I was missing one, I really thought that the idea of a self-made man was a guy that didn't need some other man to show him the way, that was kind of weak. It was weak to ask for help. It was weak to have somebody, you know, show you the path and then do what they did. You had to find your own path, the one that nobody's ever done before. Or you were kind of a pussy. And I had such low self-esteem at that point that I thought if I was to open up and be honest with another man about how fucking lost I was, that I would die of shame. So how could I even imagine, you know, to me, looking for a mentor was admitting that I had failed in every way, which nothing could be further from the truth. Of course, all highly accomplished men have had mentors, but I didn't know that. And so I was talking to our friend Evan, and he was constantly referencing his mentors, referencing his mentors. And he was my first mentor. One of the first mind-blowing things that he said to me was, you got to stop trying to figure out how to write the thing that people are going to buy. That mentality is trying to extract money from the system. You see all the people in the great system of the economy, and you feel like they're sucking some money out. They're sucking some money out. And, you know, that's a fine strategy if you want to go work at, you know, a plant on an assembly line and just, you know, turn a bolt. That's fine. Extract, you know, an exchange there. He's like, but that's not ever going to work for you. You need to figure out how to contribute. You've been trying to figure out how to extract. You need to figure out how to contribute. And that's what began this whole thing. And now I'm successful by anyone's standards, certainly by my own standards. I have exactly the life I've always dreamed of, and I get to do it while contributing to other men. And so many good things flowed from that, including meeting Nathan. And, you know, my whole life turned the moment I realized I was missing something. It was quite easy to get, you know, making a whole lot of money doing what you love can be a long, slow journey. But finding a mentor is pretty easy, and it made that getting everything I wanted fall into place really easily and really enjoyably. So I was missing that, and it was pathological, because to me it was normal to be ashamed of asking for help.
That's a great example. Normal to be ashamed of asking for help. And yeah, that's a big one. I had that one too.
You sorted it out earlier than me.
I did a little earlier, because there was a mentor that just basically took me under his wing and said, look, I'm going to help you. I was just lucky that my mentor found me.
Right. Well, that's what happened with Evan, really.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always touched when a man asks me to mentor him. It's a real gift. If you give a gift of sincerity and authenticity to someone who has qualities that you want to embody, qualities of financial success or just their presence or whatever it is, if you're just attracted to that quality in a man, and you approach that man saying, hi, I'd like to just talk to you on a regular basis. Is that okay? Because I really think that you can contribute a lot to me. That's a real gift to that man. You know, a man who's developed himself to a point where he has something to offer to other men gets real joy out of doing that. And that's important to know too, because one of the reasons, you know, Alex's stop on asking for a mentor was that's, you know, it's wimpy to ask for help. But sometimes the normal, the pathological normal is I'm too shy. They wouldn't help me. There's no way this guy that I admire would actually have a regular conversations with me or spend time with me. So I'm just not going to ask. And that's just as pathological. You know, he might not have time, but he does want to be asked.
Yeah.
And you know, if he doesn't have time, then at least you've taken that step. You've had the experience of asking for help, and you'll find your mentor. I think there's way more mentors than mentees who are sincere about asking for help.
Right. And, you know, a lot of times when you're, you know, it's about that sincerity. It's about your reasons for asking. And it's really obvious to somebody when you're not asking for the right reasons. But when you're trying to make something of yourself and you keep hitting a brick wall and you approach somebody without, you know, what was so stuck for me, which was this shame thing. It was so much more important to me to pretend that I had my shit together than to actually get help with getting my shit together. You know, I was so ashamed of where I was that I couldn't. The thought of having to, you know, there was no way I could have that authentic conversation. If I looked for a mentor at that point, it'd be like, look, you know, I already know how to do these things. You know, I got it all figured out. I'm the smartest guy in the room. But I noticed that you did this one little trick. Could you teach me to do that trick? You know, that's not a sincere conversation, right? I was lost because of that. I was always trying to sell somebody on helping me rather than like openly saying, hey man, I need a hand here. Right? It's different.
A great mentor will listen to you for 5 minutes or less and know exactly what you need for your next step, and you'll be flabbergasted. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. I call it the presenting problem. I'll go to my mentor with, here's my problem, and most of the time, I have so many good mentors, but most of the time they'll say, well, okay, I get you're experiencing your problem like that, but here's your real problem, and here's what you need to do about it. And they're pretty much right.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. And it's funny, you know, a lot of times the greatest mentors must have their own mentors. You can't see your own shit all the time. And you know, what's really obvious to me in my mentees and where they're screwed up, I just can't see in myself. So it's an important piece. The next thing on our little checklist here, which is related, is role models. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing. People who don't have role models are really screwed. And role models differ from mentors in that they elevate your possibility. You know, there's a new possibility when you see a role model existing in a way that you didn't know somebody could exist in. And of course, we know this is a huge societal problem in terms of where you grow up, giving you a very different set of opportunities. Anything you want to add about role models, Nathan?
Well, again, it has to do with it's a natural process, completely natural. And role models, usually you're gonna observe them from more of a distance than a mentor. You might not have any direct interaction with a role model, but you do get to observe them, and it's learning through observation. And it's the principle of attraction. So, you know, as a young man, you know, it's very likely, anyway, if you were like me, you were attracted to role models, you know, when I was 16, I remember there was this, you know, rich 20-something-year-old guy who had a Lamborghini, and I wanted to be him. and really I just watched him whenever I could see him, and like, wow, how do I get to be the guy that has the Lamborghini? And it's natural to grow out of that into something deeper. You know, it's not because you have a Lamborghini that you're not deep, but chances are there's probably a deeper role model for you. So it has to do with what are you attracted to, almost as an archetype. My role model right now is, he also happens to be a mentor, but I actually spend a lot of time just observing him. He's a United Nations peacemaker, and he also has convened Congress, most of Congress, in these transpartisan meetings to get them to understand each other left and right, to try and bridge this political separation we have in this country. So he works on a really big level. He's literally stopped wars and saved thousands of lives by becoming an intermediary between conflicted sides. And he has, but there's so much more. I mean, that's sort of what you can say about what he does, but how he does it and who he is when he does it is incredibly fascinating and interesting to me, and I learned so much from this man. His name is Mark Gerzon. He's not famous, but he's a writer and so on. And I'm mentioning that because he's an evolution for me of probably through 5 or 6 role models. And so it's perfectly natural to grow out of your current role model and find another one. But having that model makes it real. You know, you're not just dreaming of being a king or a billionaire or something like that. You're actually considering growing into another man who is modeling something for you in his behavior and accomplishments. And that's how we learn, as our mentor and role model, Eben Pagan, says, we learn by imitating. We're imitation machines as chimps. And so when we're shown something, there's 1,000 subtle details about it that we get to emulate, and a good role model just gets it inside, because we can literally imitate them.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, not long before, but just before you were a friend and a mentor, you were a role model, and I've mentioned this a couple of times when you were up on stage talking about your World Peace Project, and what you modeled for me was the ability to be direct about enormous things that could sound quite egoic or conceited when it's important to do that, and not to kind of shy away from making large claims when large claims are exactly what's needed in that situation. And it profoundly affected my possibilities for me. And that's the expensive quality of role models. So if you don't have role models and you think that's normal, you can see how that could trip you up in your life. Next one we have there is emotional regulation. There's
one thing I want to say about role models is if you think you don't have a role model, you're wrong, because we are imitation machines, and you are aspiring to be something, whether you think you have a role model or not. Consciously choosing a role model that really has all the positive characteristics and none of the negative characteristics that you would choose in your truth as a man flips that from imitating whatever the culture is feeding you to imitating what you're choosing to imitate. And that's an incredibly high leverage point on moving your life forward.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so emotional regulation.
Want me to jump on that? You jumping on that?
No, jump on it. Let's see what we got.
This strikes me as a big I didn't know for a lot of men who really don't have any control over some specific set of emotions or all of their emotions. It's usually a specific set, common, the most obvious one, because it's loud and has a lot of smoke and fire, and so we're aware of it when it happens as men that can't control their anger. And when you don't have emotional regulation, usually it's because your parents didn't, and you don't know that that's just totally not the normal, and it can be sabotaging your life all over the place.
Emotional dysregulation is when a feeling arises and then it becomes a problem of some kind. Strong feelings are not a problem. Strong anger, strong grief, strong sorrow, strong joy, none of these feelings are a problem when you as a man are capable of regulating them. The mystery of regulation, and I had to learn this, is that emotions are regulated in relationship. When you're seen in your emotions by another, they actually regulate your emotions. This is one of the profound truths of our being social creatures. Many men, we learn to, quote, regulate our emotions ourselves as like a one-man show, a one-man system. And it is important to have a degree of control or regulation over your emotions, but that's usually a system of loneliness and suppression. And it results in feelings of emptiness, numbness, drifting, which are powerful negative feelings that we tend to tolerate because they're kind of gray and foggy instead of sharp. But underneath, as a one-man system, suppressing emotions habitually and not expressing them and not sharing them, they build up in our bodies, literally, and they become physical ailments. If we learn as men to authentically, simply, directly share our feelings and be seen and known, particularly by another man, and this is antithetical to our culture and it's uncomfortable at first, but once you learn it, it opens a profound world of friendship and happiness with other men. Once you learn to just say, like, I'm really pissed off, and what pissed me off was da 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 da, and the other man can nod and say, yeah, you are really pissed off, and is there anything else about that? And then once you've shared through a loop, through another person or people, and it becomes complete, and once the emotion is complete, it's pretty much gone. You might remember having it, but the feeling itself isn't living somewhere in your body, trying to express itself. So this distinction between regulation, which is the sharing of feelings in a healthy way, and suppression, which is experiencing an emotion and not expressing it and holding it in yourself, is a profound distinction. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that when we're saying regulation, we're talking about healthy sharing of feelings. Not in some mushy feminine way. We share feelings as men. And often we share them very simply. Often we share them non-verbally. But we share them.
See what would have happened if you weren't on the call? Yeah, that's cool. And there's a lot of things that occur for men as complex around sharing emotion in a healthy way, particularly because we have shame around our emotion, which leads to secondary emotions. Sometimes our emotion is something, really direct that becomes anger because we weren't able to express it in a healthy way, and then shame comes in and we feel like, oh, emotions are weird, I need to do something about this. And so it's pretty deep rabbit hole. Obviously we're not going to be able to unpack the whole thing on this call, and I don't even know that we'll be able to unpack it in our weekend intensive in Phoenix, but we will really take a laser to that. I'm certain, because
what we will do is, for sure, all the men are going to leave understanding the value of emotion, having the experience of straightforwardly sharing something, And they'll bring that tool, all of those men are going to bring that tool into their life, where they realize the new normal is to directly and simply feel the emotion and then share it in a way that's healthy. Then they can just work on the rest of their regulation on their own into their lives.
Awesome. What do you have to say about this one? How to help another man?
How to help another man. I don't have our notes in front of me, Alex. What does it say that we wrote down there about how to help another man?
We wrote down two things. We wrote how to help a man and how to ask for help, which are two, I think, pretty strong items to really come into your masculine power that are often missing, that men don't know that they're missing. And I'll just, we don't have notes other than that, but I'll just say that for me, the skill of how to help a man, to skillfully help another man when he asks for help or when you can see that he needs help, has a lot to do often with managing the possibility of perceived social status change. In other words, you can make it unpalatable for a man to accept your help by accidentally triggering their, oh, you think you're better than me reflex. That social status is on the line in that case. And if you don't get expert at this and you can't help other men, you can forget about things like growing the company, and you can forget about things like being a great friend, and you can forget about making deep contributions in life. So, but there's a lot more to it than that. Certainly, that the social status thing is the first thing that occurs to me. Another thing that occurs to me is understanding how to manage their urge towards reciprocity, which is just impossible, because a lot of times there are a lot of people that you want to or need to help, and the buildup of reciprocity, if you allow that, actually destroys a friendship, destroys a relationship. Because sometimes, and of course, you don't want reciprocity. Helping a man is its own reward, and you need to understand how to communicate that. That's what occurs to me there. And so many men have just no idea how to help another man.
Yeah, let me dive into that, like how to help another man, because the rookie mistake in helping another man is thinking that you understand his problem.
That's a good one.
So you may observe a man who seems to be in distress of some kind, and or he may come to you and ask for help. But there's a four-word phrase that's just completely magical, which is, what do you need? And it's really rare as men that we're asked what we need. And it's even sometimes hard to know what we need. And it turns out to be a pretty deep question. So, if your friend comes to you and it's like, oh, I just had a fight with my girlfriend, and she called me a bastard. She said that I lied. I don't feel like I lied. I just feel like shit right now. Okay, he's essentially asking for help, complaining about his fight with his girlfriend. Usually, we'll make the rookie mistake and we'll dive in and agree with him or argue with him or make suggestions. Those are like our three go-tos, like, no, you did lie, or I can see why she's really pissed at you, or you know what you should do? You should just, go fuck another woman and then whatever, you give him some advice, some probably bad advice. When actually you haven't heard what he needs. You've only heard his complaint. And when you ask a man, like you listen, oh, my girlfriend, blah, 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 and you say, well, that sounds painful. What do you need right now? It's a very beautiful question. And it'll throw him back on his own resources to think about what he really needs. He might just say, you literally have no idea what he needs based on his complaint. He might say, you know what, I just need to go, let's just go, let's go for a walk on the beach. I just need to move. Or there's this thing that she does that I really don't understand, and I really want to understand it, and so my need is to understand something that she's doing, or my need is to It's like I noticed that if I'm super honest with myself, I wasn't in full integrity with her. And I need to create my life so that my integrity is repaired and I feel whole. And you'll get to a deeper need under his complaint. That's where you can actually help him. And even after he says his need, you might say, then you can make suggestions or offers. Like, okay, you need to understand, her behavior. Do you want to talk that out with me? Like, do you think we could just discuss it and maybe we could get to some understanding? And he may or may not trust you in that domain. But you've already helped him because you've had him reflect deeper on what his need is and how he might meet it. And that's really all we're doing when we're complaining. A complaint is, I have a need and it's not getting met. And then it's covered up by all the shit out there that's wrong. And that's what we talk about, but really the whole source of the complaint is, I have a need and it's not getting met. And if you just invite your men, your friends, to say what they need, and then make offers, gentle suggestions as to how they might meet that need, you're actually helping him build a life brick by brick where he's meeting more and more needs, and then his needs get bigger and more awesome. Like, now I need to create world peace. And, he needs a lot of help with that. Creating needs is vulnerable. It's way easier to complain about whatever, that guy on the bus that didn't smell good, than to say what it is you really need. And we're not in the habit, again, culturally, of simply and vulnerably stating our needs. And because as soon as you state a need, you're putting yourself in the position of not getting it filled directly. So it's a vulnerable moment, and vulnerability is emotional connection because it's what's raw and real. So how to help a man? Ask him what he needs, and then find out how to help him meet that need.
It's beautiful. We also have here how to ask for help. And if you don't know how to ask another man for help, which I did not, you have an enormous hole in your life that, if you think it's normal, it's pathological. Do you want to briefly do some jujitsu on that? Is that about paring down what it is that you need from the other man for help to what I need?
Yeah, so asking for help is a real art, because you're asking a particular man with particular capacities to help you. And so, before you ask, you want to have a sense that this man has the capacity to help you. Like he's got the skills or the resources or the knowledge or the freedom to help. And then it's just the reverse of the process we just described on how to help a man. You'll generally have a presenting complaint of something that happened, but then behind that complaint is a need that you want met. And the need is usually based in some kind of emotion, like fear or loneliness or just hurt of some kind. And saying, maybe telling the story of how you had the fight with your girlfriend, and then saying, and that really hurt my feelings. Like, I feel hurt. That's not the phrase we usually say, but that's on the way to asking for help. And then you say, what I feel like I need is. And then you might have your own suggestion of how this man could help you meet that need. Like, I need to go out and have a beer. That's what I need. I just need some guy time.
Right.
That's one of the most healing things to ask for. Just some buddy time, some friendship, some forget about the girlfriend for a while, hang with the men.
Right. Which, by the way, is one of the most difficult things to ask for a lot of people, because you're asking for love. You're asking for brotherly love, but you're asking for love, and man, people have a lot of difficulty around that vulnerability. To me, asking a man for help, the way it occurred for me was learning that there is great dignity and courage and a gift of sharing our shared human experience in being vulnerable enough to ask. That's what I had to learn. I had to learn that being vulnerable wasn't being weak.
That right there, being vulnerable isn't being weak. That's, if we could just hand you one insight that you actually lived in your life right now and practiced, it would be that.
Yeah.
The other thing you're doing when you ask for help like that, you are giving a profound gift.
That's it.
When you're sharing your feelings with another man, you're demonstrating something to him that is going to change him. If he's never seen it done in a straightforward, manly way, where I feel like shit, I need help. Can you help me? In a just a straightforward way, with actually making it possible to be helped, not just some sort of cesspool of emotional whatever, but actually vulnerably demonstrating that you're showing something to him that he rarely gets to see, and you're going to change him, and he's going to be capable of doing the same thing because you modeled it.
Next on our list is encouragement. There are men who don't have it. This was one of yours. Did you have something in particular in terms of how you can go out getting it? And
yeah, encouragement and praise are the unused superpowers of relationship, friendships, and the energy that it gives a man to be encouraged, to be told that he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish, that he's on the way to it, that whatever it is. Part of it is we tend to focus on the negative. We tend to focus on what's not happening that we want to have happen. That's just an automatic mind thing. And we also tend to forget about our own positive qualities. And we need to be reminded of them because they're reflected back to us. And so the encouragement is an art. Encouragement and praise is an art. And the art is in directly and lovingly observing your friend and just feeling what it is that you admire about him and what it is, his qualities that are that give you the most gift. Like, he might have a quality of humor, he might have a quality of reliability, he might have a quality of getting it done. And if you just tell him that you appreciate that specific quality, and particularly the difference it makes for you. Alex, when you introduce me, and you praise me so much, it's a lot to take in. But you actually have a superpower of this. Like, I've watched you praise people, and they're just glowing for a month because you're specific and real in your praise. You're not. Flattery is when you're making up things, positive things to say that have nothing to do with reality. Praise and encouragement is when you're carefully observing that person and you're literally noticing and consciously appreciating the qualities that bring you happiness and contribution. And so if I could give the men on this call an exercise, it would be, tonight, no later than tomorrow morning, practice saying at least 3 times some form of praise by finding something specific that you appreciate about someone around you. Women thrive on praise, authentic praise. Men need it, but we don't need it as much as women, but we absolutely need it. If it's missing, we wilt. So as an exercise, start by noticing, start by feeling what you love and appreciate about a person, and then tell them, I love and appreciate this about you.
The next one that you had written down, I'm not sure what you meant by this, so I'm just going to leave you to unpack it if you remember, was parent force.
Parent force.
And then there was a deep silence.
I think I remember what I meant by writing. This is, what's that? Were there any notes with it?
That's it.
That's it, parent force, yeah.
You made a list.
Yeah, the parent force, it's where you're willing as a man to step in with a degree of control of another person in a positive, loving way. So, and this goes in domains. You might have a friend who has some mad skill, say sales. Say he's, he can just sell the hell out of everything. He's a very successful salesman. But in another line of development, he's not as developed as you. Let's say dating women. And so parent force is where you just step in and you just kind of take charge of that area of his life to show him lovingly what he should be doing. And the reason I mention it is because it feels like we don't have permission to offer parent force, usually. Like, whatever, each man to his own, like, okay, he's a great salesman, he sucks at dating, he's always unhappy with women, the women are always miserable, but I guess he'll figure it out, is the opposite of parent force. Let's say that you are good in the domain of say, relating to women, at least compared to your friends. So you would step in with this friend and you'd say, look, you're really fucking up your life in this area, and I'm going to help you. And it's like, it's kind of the ninja move of how to help another man. Now that same guy might look at you and go, hey, your business is failing, you can't sell for shit, I'm going to step in and show you how to sell. And he's parenting you in that domain.
That's never happened to me.
And it's relieving because as men we know that we're floundering in some domain and we hate it. We're hurting ourselves and others. We feel some shame about it. To have a friendly parental type force, like a fatherly, like, let me just show you how it's done. I'm going to help you here. Do this. Don't do that. A directive kind of thing. It can be a huge service to a man.
Nice. I've got a couple here that I wrote down, and I'm dying to get to the Q&A, so I'm gonna tick through these that I put down. If you have something to say about them, let me know. I'm just going to kind of give them a little brief bit, as brief as I know how to be, because not my strong suit. One of the things that I really see all the time in the men that I coach that is, for them, pathological, normal, but is just, it's such a freedom and force multiplier in life, is the ability to receive, which is sometimes the willingness to receive. Receiving is so important, and it's tied to our sense of deservingness. We think that we can't always receive unless we deserve, and so, or we can receive if we reciprocate. Those are kind of the conditions on which it's okay. But if those conditions aren't met, for a lot of men, it's very difficult to receive. And of course, I encounter this most of the time when dealing with men's sexual relationships, because that's most of the coaching that I do. And it's amazing what an explosive force this can be in a man's sexual life when he understands how incredibly important it is for his woman to feel received when she's giving. And so many men arrive as my readers because they feel like they're not good in bed. And so their theory is that the problem is that they don't know how to give what she wants. And that is sometimes a problem. But it is almost always a parallel problem. And sometimes it is the problem itself. When a woman is unsatisfied with you sexually, the biggest problem is sometimes because she doesn't feel received. She's not getting that you're enjoying what she's giving. And it shows up in all of life, because the whole universe is trying to give you shit all the time, that if you're not a good receiver, you're either not noticing or you're actually in creating insult to individuals and to really the universe itself. I can't tell you how crystal clear this becomes if you're not a good receiver and you practice receiving, how crystal clear this becomes that you've been offering insult to everything around you that's been trying to support you, because people love to give. And like I said, I'm just short on time, but if you think receiving might be a thing for you, just write a note about that. It's critical. Nathan, do you want to add something quickly to that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I do. Just for the mind. I mean, imagine a person going through life always trying to give and never receiving. They're just going to run out of whatever. They're going to have no resource. Life is about receiving and giving. And the capacity to receive, to relax, to accept is a profound capacity. It invites so much love into your life.
Mm.
We're going to practice this. Reception is in the body, and it's in the breath. And so on this seminar, we're going to do exercises in which we practice what does it feel like to receive in the body and to become receptive. Because otherwise, you've got a kind of armor on, and you're keeping the world out, including the good stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I can't tell you what a huge pathology this shows up. By the way, for women as well, both women and men, I almost never, this is how bad it is, I almost never encounter people who are healthy receivers, which is just a massive indictment. It's easy to do, but people don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they're missing this. And what happens is, for so many men who have this problem, is that they're kind of circling around trying to give, because they feel like if they stop for a moment, somebody will be like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here with us. And it goes to self-esteem. It goes to feelings of self-worth, of deserving love. And what happens is they think they've got to fix their self-esteem so that they'd feel good about receiving. But in fact, all they have to do is receive to realize how badly people want to give, which is what gives you the self-esteem. It's one of those things where people are chasing self-esteem because what they don't know is that they're missing the ability to receive. Once you get the ability to receive, your self-esteem jacks up really high, really fast. So anyway, it's just one of those biggies. Appropriate response to fear. Lot of shame around fear sitting in this chair, and understanding what fear is as a feeling and how important fear is, and how often fear can be, well, maybe even by definition, self-generated. And understanding appropriate responses to fear is a big one. Again, I'll bat that over to Nathan before I move on, because it's important.
Yeah, fear. Well, fear is at the foundation of our separate selves, so it's a deep one.
Right.
And there's an ancient saying in Indian philosophy, Vedanta: as soon as an other arises, fear arises. So the opposite of an other is actually pretty simple. It's an emotional connection. When you feel an emotional connection to another, they don't feel part of you. That's the connection that we crave. And so recognizing fear as primarily psychological and unnecessary doesn't make it go away, but it gives you the power to put your attention on what's most important, which is connection. And then usually what happens is if you master your attention like that, so that you're not suppressing the fear, but you're not giving it much attention. You're letting it be there, and you're putting your attention on what's most important to you, which is going to be connection. A healthy exchange, either receiving or giving. Then that becomes a practice in life where you, just by doing that, just by that shift of attention, you become one of those warm, attractive, loving people that people just want to be around. Because you can just imagine right now, what is it like to be around someone has their attention on fear versus someone who might be experiencing fear but has their attention on connection, on love. It's just a huge difference. So fear has the ability to really grab our attention. It's the #1 clench of arrested attention. It's the opposite of free attention. But you can develop an ability without much difficulty of allowing your fear and putting your attention where you choose to put it. And we're going to practice this in some pretty deep exercises on this seminar.
Last one that I just really wanted to cover, and again, I'll try and keep it brief, but it's one of those things that it's what's missing that men think is normal, and if it's missing, it sabotages you, and it's understanding how to develop empathy. And empathy is feeling another person's feelings in your body so that you can feel what they feel. And it's important on so many levels, one of which is when you develop empathy, it dramatically enhances your self-esteem because you stop feeling so alone. You begin to get, oh, right, this person actually feels insecure in this situation, and I'm being shy to talk to them, but actually they're shy to talk to me. When you can kind of feel what they're feeling, it forgives a lot, and it opens up enormous new powers of self-acceptance. And of course, it creates the possibility of intimacy. It creates the possibility of intimacy, which does not exist without empathy. So it's such a game changer for your life to, if you're not good at empathy and you don't know that you're not good at empathy, when this turns on, where this shows up frequently for me, just as an example, to kind of where a rubber hits the road example, is I talk to so many men who have all this anxiety around sexual escalation or approaching women. And part of that is because all of their attention is on their own body. All of their attention when they approach a woman is on, how might this humiliate me? What'll happen? What will this say about me if this goes wrong? And absolutely none of their attention is on what her experience is of the interaction. And that simple switch of opening the channel of empathy and being curious about how this occurs for her and feeling her feelings in your body allows you to understand that she's got a lot of anxiety around this too, and that she's just a human. And suddenly it's very easy for conversation to flow because you're like, oh, hey, you seem a little uncomfortable right now. And she's like, oh yeah, I am, because and my friend, she said she was going back, and I don't know. All these things suddenly arise for you, but a lot of your own anxiety goes away when you just take all of that attention off of your anxiety. Your anxiety grows because you're attending it. You're watching your anxiety, very much as we were just talking about in fear. When you take your attention off of your anxiety and you put it on, hey, what this other human I'm trying to communicate with is feeling, it's just a huge epiphany. So, and again, shows up everywhere. So empathy, an important one that a lot of men don't know that they don't have. That's my wrap. I'll let Nathan bat that one out of the park.
Well, I mean, you really nailed it. The yielding of attention to the other, like just opening your attention and actually putting your attention on the other, generates the empathy. It's a pretty simple gesture. It's the difference, just to ground it. It's the difference when you're talking to someone of really taking in their words and actually, as they're speaking, feeling what it really means for them to be saying that, like understanding even why they're saying that and what they're feeling as they're saying that. We have this capacity. There's this awesome statistic, which is that we can listen 5 times faster than most people speak. Now, why would we have evolved that? Why wouldn't we just listen at the same pace as people speak? The reason is that there's so much more to listen for than words. If I am being a great listener, then there's an echo on the line, Alex. I don't know if you noticed that. But if
Just
I'm being a great listener, then I literally listen to the words, I repeat them in my head to make sure that I get them, and I consider what it is that the person is concerned about, like what is their motivation for even opening their mouth and talking to me, and what are they feeling, and what's the need behind that feeling. And then when I reply to their need, not so much their words. And if you can do that with a woman, then she will feel so gotten, so happy. I don't care if it's a grandmother or a sister or an aunt or a woman that you're actually anxious about maybe, seducing. It will make her feel connected and happy authentically. And you will have an authentic connection with her. And it's the authenticity that reduces the anxiety for both of you, because you feel a real connection. You get comfortable. Anxiety really comes from a lack of connection.
Great. Thank you, Nathan. Obviously we can make this a longer list, but I hope that by exploring these individual items, we've opened your eyes to how big, what a fucking nuclear bomb some of these things can be if you're missing them in your life. And there are, for all of us, these normal things. We think it's normal, but they're missing. It's not normal for them to be missing. So a lot of work to be done there. I want to just quickly say again, because we are running out of time. I wish we had more time for questions. We will take some, but of course we're verbose. We ran a little over. The intensive that we are doing, the weekend intensive in Phoenix, is an opportunity to sit down and spend a full weekend locked in a room doing work with me and Nathan, and of course with the other men that show up. This is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This will be a life changer. If it scares you a little bit, then you get what it is we're up to. If you're not frightened by it, you don't understand what it is we're doing. This should be a little bit edgy and scary for you. We're not doing our job. But anyway, I'm inviting the men on this call to join us. We had some early bird discount seats going for a while, and that expires today. So the first thing I wanted to do is mention that for the men on this call who are listening to us, we're going to extend that for 48 hours with a kind of a discount code. And that code is MAN UP, as one word, MAN UP, MANUP. And if you put that in during checkout, you'll save the $100 for the next 48 hours. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to join us. I also want to mention that it's almost sold out. We've only got a couple of seats left. So if that's you and you're like, yeah, no, I got to be in this group, there's a link over on the right, I think, that'll take you over the page. I would open that now and just kind of click it. It should open in another window. Have that open. You're going to want to read through that stuff, and you're going to want to make some decisions about whether you can travel out and spend the weekend with us. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Also, we are going to add a live stream. Now, obviously, pay-per-view isn't ringside seats, as Nathan said. And certainly pay-per-view isn't like being in the ring. And we want to take you to the ring. So I really, if you're called to do this work with us, do whatever you have to do to be live in the room. It's going to make a big difference. There are some exercises that simply won't translate to you at home. However, if you can't get there, jump on the pay-per-view, jump on the live stream. We have some pretty cool technology. We're going to do some very interactive stuff. You're not just going to be sitting and watching. We are committed to making this an interactive experience for you and making it as good as it can be. And also, I'll just quickly mention, it's on the page. Nathan came up with this idea that you might want accountability. One of the biggest problems with doing this at home and not being live with us in the room is that the people who are in the room are, stuck there. They're like, we're going to lock the door. We're not going to let them out until we're through with them. We'll let them out for meals and bathroom breaks. But other than that, they're kind of stuck there, and they paid their money and they flew out there. And so they're away from their home, their distractions, their wife, their dog, and all that other shit. And if you're home, you've got the dog, the wife, and all that other shit, and your telephone and your internet, and you just can't get the same amount because you're probably not going to be in every session. So what we've done is we have a little accountability ransom. You can just pay the regular price, or you can voluntarily give us an extra $100. Honor System will give you the $100 back if you show up for all of the sessions for the whole weekend. It's really just to get leverage on you. We're just doing this as a service to you. We'll hold your $100 ransom, and if you show up for the whole thing, we'll give it back. So that's kind of one of the ways that we want to try and really create this for you for real. Again, there should be a little thing for you to click, and I'd love to get into some questions now before we go too far.
I want to say something about that $100.
Yeah, go for it.
The $100 is for you. It's a favor that we're going to do for you. It's not, Alex and I didn't design this to make more money. We designed it to get you to put some skin in the game, because we want you thinking, if I don't show up, I'm going to lose $100. And we want you to give us that $100 extra, as it's kind of like, when you resolve to go to the gym in January, and we all know how well those resolutions usually go. But if you make a deal with your buddy that you're going to show up at the gym at 9 a.m., and if he's not there, he owes you $100. And if you're not there, you owe him $100. It's kind of like that. It's a way to keep your attention, because our attention follows our money. And $100 is enough to be, interesting enough. And so we're basically saying, give us your $100, and we'll give it back to you if you tell us that you were in all the sessions. And then every time you might go to the first session, you might go to the second, you might think, oh, whatever, I got a phone call, but no, I'm not going to miss the third session because I'm going to lose $100. And whatever, it's under your control. It's on the honor system. You just tell us exactly if you've been on there or not, and we give you your $100 back. So it's just a favor that we're doing for you. But I would encourage you to take advantage of it, because it'll draw enough of your attention into the program to have you get more value out of it, a lot more than $100, and anyway you get it back.
All right. So anyway, we hope you come live. If you don't come live, you should probably opt to give us an extra $100 that we will give you back, so that you can have more of a skin in the game experience the way the other guys do. I do want to get some questions. Two ways to ask them. The best way to ask a question right now is to look over at the chat box. I see you guys are all chatting with each other. I got to figure out how to make that not happen next time, because you're just distracting yourselves from the good stuff. There's a little thing that says admin notice, and if you want to talk to us live face-to-face, here's your opportunity to do that. Obviously, this is a public forum. Your face will be seen. However, when you click that thing, as you're on your way in, there's a way to turn off your camera, or you can just put your hand over your camera if you want to be a little bit anonymous, this way. You should be able to turn off your camera on the way in. But if you want to come and work with us right now and ask your question live, this is the time to do that. Click that link, and when you come in, you'll have to close this window. You'll have opened a new window where you're talking to us directly. You'll have to close this window, otherwise you're going to get this unbelievable 30-second delay echo that will explode your brain. So I see we've got a couple of people coming in to do that. Also, when you come in, please mute your microphone, and then we will take some questions. So we have somebody with an unpronounceable name who's come in here. I'm going to try and see if I can. Did I just mute you or unmute you, guy whose name I can't pronounce? It looks like it's in Cyrillic. Let's see, I muted him. Let's see if I can unmute him. Can we unmute you? Okay, I'm giving up on him because I can't pronounce his name. Jason, you were next in. If you unmute your microphone, then you can ask your question. Jason, if you can hear me and you've closed the other window, let me see if I can unmute your microphone for you. I can't. You're going to have to kind of hover over your screen and unmute your microphone. Jason, can you hear me? Okay, Sam, if you can hear me, you can try unmuting your microphone. We are 0 for 3. I love technology. Except when technology doesn't work. Listen, Sam, Jason, and Dude with the
I would call him Abraham.
Abraham. Ah.
Eugene. His name is Eugene.
Eugene, you want to unmute your microphone?
Maybe they
Can you hear me? This is Jason.
Oh, Jason.
Jason, all right. Jason, you are first. Hey, Jason.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for playing.
Yep.
What do you got?
I think some of the guys are still figuring out how to transfer from the other page.
Well, anyway, what's your question, Jason?
I was just trying to absorb the information from the webinar, really. Not really sure. I mean, I want to try to progress in life, and I was absorbing some of the stuff you said, like finding out your next goal and picking out a role model and stuff like that.
What do you need?
Tougher question than it sounds.
The idea. You want to think about it for a while we...
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, man. No problem. Why don't you mute your microphone just so we don't get crazy echoes until we get to get you back.
All right.
Sam, you unwire this thing yet? Do you not unmute yourself? Not looking that way. Eugene, I guess you've got a sleeping wife, so you're not going to be talking to us. Tom? Vincent? One of you guys want to try unmuting and joining us?
I would try to help, but I'm not really sure what we were talking about at the moment.
That was Tim?
Yeah, how's it going?
Hey, man. You got a question for us?
Yeah, actually, I was sort of curious as to how this would sort of go along with the sort of stuff that the PUAs are putting out. You know, how can you be authentic while still using game?
I have a lot of really serious thoughts about that. I've talked a lot about that in public. I think that, first of all, it's really difficult to put all the PUAs in one group because a lot of them are teaching very different things now. I know that a lot of them are teaching, a more authentic inner work version of how to meet women. The problem that I see at the core of what most of the PUAs are teaching is that they're trying to teach you how to synthetically generate social status in order to cause a woman to be attracted to you, which works, right? We know it works. A lot of these guys seem to get laid a lot. The problem is it is unsustainable, and none of them have girlfriends. Or when they do have girlfriends, if you observe them with their girlfriend, the relationship is weird, and you'll notice that they're very frequently gaming their girlfriend. Even years later, they're still gaming, that they're never allowing themselves to be seen, and they are robbing themselves of having an authentic experience, which they will come to the end of their lives and regret. I mean, there's just, it is, so that's the one problem. And the other problem I have is that when you figure out something that works that is hiding behind an assumed identity, using routines and other people's words or opinion openers or body language that you think is going to cause attraction, when you're hacking into it that way instead of actually doing the work to become a sexually confident human, what happens is...
I'm starting to lose you, Alex.
What's that? what happens is you actually become more ashamed of who you are, and you really adopt this sense that who you are isn't good enough, because that didn't work for you and this does. And that's ironic, because a lot of times, a lot of the women in bars are there because they want to hook up. And so what happens is all these times that you were afraid to do anything, or, you know, the best you could do was just kind of walk up and go, "You're so pretty," and, you know, you just couldn't get past that. And then they say, "Well, just instead of doing that, do this," and then you do this, and she ends up, you know, making out with you, going home with you, or whatever. And you think, "It worked, it worked." It's not that it worked. It didn't work. Anything would have worked. It's just that you never tried anything before. But that's it. You're now heading down a road of a synthetic identity that is going to take you further and further from having authentic relationships. That said, you know, that's not every guy out there. I know a lot of guys who are in the, you know, how to pick up chicks industry who are teaching something much more high level now, and some of that stuff can be highly valuable in figuring out who you are by having good experiences with women. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. Nathan, you have anything you want to add to that?
Just to summarize, there's you know, if you're putting game on, then the game gets between some authentic attraction. Somebody needs to mute somewhere. An authentic attraction that woman might have, but you don't get to feel it as attracted to you. So that sucks, because you're actually not getting the authentic connection that would nourish your being, that would nourish your emotions, that would create a relationship. And as you said, Alex, undoing it later is pretty much impossible. You know, if you've been dating the girl for a week, maybe had sex a couple times, and then you say, "You know what, I've been gaming you this whole time, I want to show you my real self," she's just going to leave.
Yeah, not going to work out so well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who else is on the line who wants to have a chat. I think Vincent, I think you were the next person. Vincent and Sam, either one of you guys want to unmute your microphone and have a chat with us? Okay, that's not looking so good.
Run something by you. Can you hear me?
Vincent.
Yes. Vincent, hi.
Vincent, sorry, you're not going to be able to see me, but I'm actually not here for girls, if you can believe that. I started out that way. I was actually over with Christian Hudson, as you know, with Girlfriend Acquisition System, and I really liked your speech there, by that way, Alex. That was a great presentation. I thought that was great. A while ago, I was at a friend's wedding, and he told me that he would have elected me to be his best man if I didn't be so distant. And that kind of hit me a little hard, and ever since then I've been going through like this phase of like trying to redevelop myself into being a better person, being more in touch with friends. And I don't know, I've got into the 10 code through Christian Hudson as well, and I've been just really trying to make myself into someone who I'm really proud of. And then, like you said, he sent out that email about this webinar that you got going on. So that's why I'm over here. I don't really have any specific questions, but maybe if you hear that story, if there's any advice you'd love to share with me, I'd certainly be happy to listen.
Well, just quickly intro this. I'm going to bow it over to Nathan to begin. But Christian's a real good friend of mine. And I recently introduced him to Nathan, and I think he's going to come out and talk a little bit. He's, in any case, going to be in the room with us. So, and 10 Code is the program he's most proud of. And just for those who, those of you that don't know, the premise of the 10 Code isn't how to get a 10, it's how to become a 10.
Exactly.
As a man, yeah. So he's really, really proud of that work. We've spent many a night over a glass of red wine with him obsessing over how to really make that the best thing it can be. And I really admire the rigor with which he's tried to create something important for you guys. So in the best man question, Nathan, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so if I understood the question, a friend said, "I would have picked you for my best man, but I don't feel connected to you." Is it something like that?
Yeah, it was more or less like that. He said that I seemed very distant, and at the time then, I could definitely see that. I mean, I'm an introvert by nature. I'll admit to that, and I find a lot of the times I don't have things to say to people, so I don't bother saying, "Hey, what's up?" Whereas a lot of people will randomly text me something like that, and I'll be like, "Well, nothing much. Do you want something?" And that's kind of hard for me to just like carry on a regular conversation with somebody just to see how they're doing, because I don't want to say I don't care, but if nothing's wrong with them, I don't care.
Got it. Well, that is how you'd appear distant.
Yeah.
As an introvert, extroverts value just interaction. Like they literally get more dopamine from just having a "what's up?" "Yeah, what's up with you?" "Sure, yeah, I'm good." Like, "What are you doing later?" kind of a conversation. And one of the things I've learned to do as an introvert is, and there's actually a study on this, is pretend to be extroverted. I kind of ask myself, what would an extrovert do? And the study shows that when introverts pretend to be extroverts, they actually get happier.
Okay, interesting.
As introverts, we tend to focus on functional. We want some substance to the communication, and just receiving, like if a friend texts you, we talked about reception earlier. That's basically they're saying, on the most fundamental level, they're saying, "Hey, I like you, and I want to be connected to you." And just understanding that any communication actually connects you to them in their world is kind of a gift to the person that's reached out to you. And if you're in a real introverted moment and you don't want to give that gift, that's fine. But just know that there's real value in responding in a shallow conversation that seems shallow to you but probably feels really good to the extrovert. And since as introverts we live in a world of extroverts, it behooves us to learn how to get along with them. One of the things that happens as a man, as we develop, we start out to be pretty strong types. Like, I started out to be a pretty strong introvert. And over time, I've realized the value of learning how to be extroverted. And I'm actually quite capable now of being extroverted. It's not my native mode, but it's a skill that I've developed that it doesn't feel artificial or not me. I'm not like pretending to be extroverted. I'm actually extroverted and choosing to be extroverted. And so that feeling of distance that your probably extroverted friends feel, that's causing some pain to you because, ow, your friend feels you're distant, and then you just described distant behavior.
Yeah.
And so just realize there's an inherent value in a little goofy text exchange. You know what you might do? You might just add some humor. You might find a bunch of stupid pictures on the internet, and when your friend says, "Hey, how you doing?" send him a stupid picture. Meaning, to an introverts, in a functional introvert's world, it's meaningless. But to him, it's like it's cool. It's funny. It's like you had an interaction with him. You acknowledged his existence, because extroverts look for validation externally, and you've just validated him, and that's good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thanks, Nathan. I want to just add a couple of quick things. First thing I want to add is we're at our capacity for a number of live guys who can be on. So at some point, maybe some of these guys will click off and we'll be able to take on some more guys. But if you're trying to join us as one of the live guys, I think that the system won't allow any more of those guys on. And I just want to add one more thing in terms of this introvert-extrovert conversation. I'm not sure. I have no way of knowing this. We'd have to talk a lot more, but I just want to throw a couple of quick things out. If they resonate, awesome. If they don't, awesome. But sometimes the introvert thing is a straw man argument, and it's something that I've seen people hide behind. Introverts can be highly attractive to other humans, and they can be extremely warm to other humans. Extroversion isn't. Extroverts don't own the how to be socially acceptable in any way. And what often happens, and I just like I said, I'm throwing this out there, is that what you think is, I'm introverted, really is about fear of intimacy, inability to receive love, inability to give love. It could be, you know, a lot of these other little things we talked about on the checklist that are missing. It could be a lack of empathy. You know, that could make people feel like, hey man, you're distant. And one of the things that occurs to me a lot when people have said to me, hey man, I found you distant when we were talking at the party. A lot of times the way that what shows up for me is that I was feeling insecure about being seen. That actually it was just me being insecure and somewhat ashamed of my own social abilities, and so I was hiding behind something that lacked warmth and that made them feel a sense of distance. So it could be a lot of different things, and I want to make sure that, you know, it's not just a hiding behind introversion.
I'd like to add one more thing to that, which is genuine curiosity. There's something that you're genuinely curious about anyone you're interacting with. You can find that. If you make a habit of finding what you're genuinely curious about, and then you ask that question that you authentically want to know the answer to, then as an introvert, it engages that functional part of you that feels like it has to be engaged, because your authentic curiosity overrides, you know, any sense of uselessness. So I would suggest, if you feel like a communication is useless, just consider that that's your fault. It's not the fault of the person communicating with you.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
We're going to try to get some more people on. Vincent, if you could do me a favor and click off of this line and then use the link you originally used to join the call to get back in, you'll actually be able to hear yourself again because there's a massive delay on the other side. So if you click off, you'll join in. You won't have missed anything when you get back in. And we're going to try and jump to some other people. Kyle, who has a camera on, do you have a question for us? Kyle, you might have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we can't hear Kyle.
I see you're trying to do something there, Kyle. Aha, we hear you.
All right, beauty. Hi, guys. I was really appreciate everything you've been discussing already. I find it's been my question, as I related before, was I have a cultural understanding that it's bad to be needy or show a need, but how is this different to expressing your emotions when you're with a woman?
Difference between being needy and is that what you're asking? The difference between being needy and expressing emotions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes your emotion is neediness, you know, and there's a recognition, a couple of recognitions that you want to make. The first is, you know, to do the self-work. Like, why are you being needy? I mean, needy isn't what you want to be, right? You shouldn't need another person's attention in order to validate yourself and all that kind of stuff. So there's work to be done there. Feeling needy is kind of a red alert of other things that you could be doing. But of course, we're all needy sometimes. Even in a relationship, we can be quite needy. Is there, well, I wish I could stop these messages from coming up. Hey guys who are jumping in and typing all that stuff in the chat, could you stop that? Because it's just creating a bunch of noise on the line, and we can't get more people in until we field these questions. It's just a limit of the technology. I apologize for that. So sometimes we're needy, and when we're needy, it's okay to express it exactly as, and hopefully with some sense of humor. You know, when you say to somebody, "Wow, I'm feeling kind of needy right now," and maybe we could sort out why that is. That's authentic sharing, versus having an authentic feeling of attraction and voicing that, or an authentic feeling that just genuinely like somebody and expressing that. That's not needy. That's just an authentic expression. Am I making any sense to you before I invite Nathan in?
Yeah, no, that I was really struggling with the distinction between those two explanations. So that is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, all I'd add to that is, as long as you're straightforward, you're going to appear to be expressing a need versus being needy. Being needy is a kind of a manipulative behavior to try and make the other person meet your need, versus just expressing a need which may or may not get met. Alex and I have a friend, Sean Stevenson, who we're trying to get on the program. We don't know if we can get him, but he has extreme needs because he has a bone disease that leaves him in a wheelchair, and he's about 2 feet tall, and so he is just watching him express his needs, which are extreme because he's so physically helpless, has taught me about the dignity of expressing needs. And so if you just feel in your heart, am I trying to manipulate this woman into meeting my needs, or am I just expressing my needs because I'm feeling them as part of the emotion? Expressing needs is actually quite attractive because people love to contribute to other people. That's what I have to say about that.
That's great. Kyle, that land for you, buddy?
Yeah, that's perfect, really. To make sure there's a difference between expressing the need without any reciprocity is really what cuts me at the core. And at the end of the day, I'm looking for just validation and acceptance in a relationship with anyone. And although I don't have to have my needs being met, I'm looking to be accepted and validated. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to build on that, you can actually, it's kind of relieving for another person to admit you have a need without actually meeting your need. Like there's a dignified, vulnerable exchange available in, I don't know, if you were with a woman and you said, in my life I feel a need for like a lack of affection and a need for affection, and I really want to find someone with whom to exchange affection. And she can validate your needs. She could say, yeah, I could see why, like we all need affection. And just even if she's not willing to give you that affection, just to express your need and have it validated is already a real human vulnerable connection, for instance.
Yeah, and I'll add that.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Because it's...
Go ahead. Kyle, sorry, go ahead. Oh, Kyle's muted. Okay. So just to build on that a little bit, the empathy button really works there as well. I think you'll find that all humans have a certain need for validation from other humans. It's kind of wired into us. And being able to have a direct conversation about it is kind of cool, provided the conversation is about it in this dignified way that Nathan suggests, versus being like, do you think you'll be the one who will give me that? You know, that kind of expression of neediness versus authentically expressing a need. Looks like Kyle did the right thing and is joining us on the other side. Vincent, do me a favor, man, because I want to get other people on this line. If you can, there's a link that you originally used to join the webinar, not the link that's the sticky note in there, should get you back onto the regular webinar. Sam, I'm going to give you one more shot to unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you also to come in to the regular webinar and not live here with us. Sam, you want to try and unmute there? Okay, Sam, what I'd like you to do is go to the email or the whatever that has the link to join the regular webinar, and you'll be able to catch up to us there. I'm going to eject you from the little live zone so more people can ask calls. And all right, I'm going to do the same thing with you, name that I can't pronounce. And now we can get a couple more people in. Kyle, I'm going to also ask you if you could go ahead and dial back in to the regular call. You won't miss anything because there's a big time delay. So you'll be able to join us over there. So if you could just click the link from the original email and join us there, we can take a look at John. John, you want to try and unmute your mic? Hey, John. John, can you hear me? John, if you can hear me, unmute your mic. No luck with John. Jason. Jason. Hey, buddy. There you are. Hey, Jason.
How are you?
Great. What do you need, my friend?
Okay, well, like you told me to think about it there, I was thinking about it, and you know what? Probably my biggest problem with what I need is to stop thinking about things so much. I'll overthink things, and I'll kind of paralyze myself, and I won't do anything. So, for example, not relationship advice or anything like that. For my specific example, is I fairly recently opened up a business, small business and everything like that, and I just don't know how to proceed, really. I guess I took on a little bit more than I could chew. So I have, I don't know, no sense of direction, I suppose.
So I hear a couple things in there, Jason. You feel a little overwhelmed with your business. That's a great time to ask for help. Like, find a businessman who's succeeding at what you want to succeed at, and ask him to take a look at your business.
Okay.
And then find someone who you know you're going to do what he tells you to do, or that you know you're going to take his advice, like you respect him enough. And it's up to you, whether you feel you need just a simple successful businessman of any business, or you need someone who's successful in your business.
Okay, so it could just be done any kind of business and just kind of ask them how they went about it. And
yeah. Business, I think, is one of the areas where we tend not to ask for help, where we can really, really be helped. I ask for help in my businesses all the time, and my friends are happy to help me, and they have so much more expertise and organizing ability than I do in certain ways, and it's just incredibly useful, and I go from overwhelmed to progress in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The other thing you said was you felt like you overthink things. And usually that indicates that you haven't habitually connected to your feelings, to your emotions.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Because your emotions are the ones that sort of tell you whether you're on track or not, that they help you reach conclusions. Overthinking can be a symptom of self-doubt, which is a form of not feeling your own truth. And there's nothing wrong with doubt. Like, the mind doubts, and it seeks certainty. That's like a normal function of the mind. But if you feel like you're overthinking, it sounds like you're burdening yourself with loops. And usually those loops are because your mind is operating independently of your emotions. And I would just encourage you, if I were just to give you something to do, it would be to meditate for 10 minutes every day with the intention of just feeling your emotions and even naming them. Oh, that's anxiety. Oh, I'm feeling numbness of emotion. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Oh, I feel happy. Oh, I feel, I just thought of somebody I love and I feel good. Just let the emotions come, name them, and notice them. That's my advice there.
There's actually an app you can get for smartphones. It's called Headspace, it's actually really good for getting started on meditation, and tells you a lot about different ways you can do it
Thanks,
and the
Tom.
ideas behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's different forms of meditation. Some of them are focused on the mind, but for you, I would say, do a form of meditation that has you putting your attention on your emotions.
Okay. Well, I do recognize my emotions most of the time. It might be more that I suppress them, which probably is a habit, like we discussed earlier in the webinar. Because I do feel I just, like you said, I think I repress them.
Yeah, so find out how to connect to them directly without repressing them. And in our seminar, we're going to do some pretty intense exercises on this to help us. Some men are perfectly connected to their emotions, and there's no problem. But a certain number of us are like what you just described, or like what I used to be, where we habitually suppress our emotions.
I'm just going to add something that I thought Nathan was going to say right out of the box, which is sometimes if you've got too many, thoughts going on in your head, and you're overthinking. The problem isn't so much that you're overthinking. The problem is that you're listening, and sometimes, a lot of the shit that your mind generates isn't really worth your attention. And I don't think the men realize that you can actually sit in judgment of that and sort. Like, some of your thoughts when you're overthinking things are super fucking valuable, but a lot of it's crap. A lot of it's crap. The little chatterbox in there just says a lot of shit, It serves up a lot of anxieties and stuff that I think you can really evaluate as not being worthwhile. And sometimes the answer is just to not pay attention, to the overthinking machine, because it never stops. It's just always spinning its shit. We are more than 2 hours in. I'm thinking 2 more, maybe 1 more. Nathan, what's your call on this?
Let's just take 1 more, I think, and call it a day.
All right, let's do that. Tom, you were first in. If you want to try and unmute your mic. Tom going once. Tom going twice. Tom going 3 times. Sold to John. John, you got something you want to add? Mike, going once, Mike. Going twice, Mike. Mike, you want to say something? Axel, it's all you, buddy. Axel, if you've got a question to ask, buddy, you are the man. It's your call right now, Axel. I guess there's a lot of technology issues out there. I apologize to you guys who are kind of sorting through this thing. It's not perfect. It's the best technology I've found so far. It's not perfect. I want to quickly say replay is going to be available on this. It's going to be up on the blog, on my site. It may be useful. Also, somebody was asking a question about neediness. This week's video on the YouTube /C/Alex Allman video channel is about neediness. If you're one of my subscribers, you'll get an email notification about it. But we're going to talk about neediness. And if you click over to the blog, there's going to be a great conversation about it. There always is. So we will be talking about needy. I've got some great. I hired some actors to act out the difference between doing it the needy way and the not needy way. Pretty cool stuff. But most importantly, come to Phoenix.
Oh my God! Just come to Phoenix. We need you in Phoenix, and you need to be there. Just say yes.
If there's one thing that I think you probably got from this call, it's that we've got so much more we want to share with you. We're going to just crack open your brain and do some really, really scary shit to it in Phoenix. It's going to be a ton of fun, and you will leave with a group of brothers that you will have for a lifetime. If that sounds kind of cool to you, by all means, click the little thing. There's some kind of little thing. I don't know where it is, but it should be around. There's a little thing that you can click to go ahead and read about what it is we're doing, and hopefully buy a plane ticket and come out and see us in Phoenix. Otherwise, also an option is going to be our new live stream that's up. I haven't checked, but I'm guessing that there are under 10 seats by now. to join us for the live program. So if that's something that interests you, you're going to want to do that immediately, and you're going to want to use the discount code MANUP. I'm going to display it as a sticky. You should see a sticky there with the word MANUP. It's one word, MANUP. That'll save you $100 for 48 hours, just to extend the price. The $100 price discount ends today. It's extended 48 hours just for those of you who are here listening. Everybody else, it's $100 more, but we want to reward those who are showing up. And I'm going to put out as much more free content as I can between now and Phoenix, because I get not everybody can afford it, not everybody can be there. We've got 2 guys who are going to be coming on scholarship, but that's as many as we can afford not to give to people who want to spend their money, obviously. So, bottom line is, if you are interested in joining us in Phoenix, you should act fast. You should use the little MANUP code, and we will see you there. Nathan, anything you want to add before we do the wrap up and Mickey Mouse Club goodbye song?
I just want to say how grateful I am, for you men to be on this call, and my gratitude particularly extends to those men that I'm going to see your shining faces in Phoenix and take your questions and tell you some things, both intellectually and in our bodies, that I actually know it'll change the trajectory of your life and your relationships. And I'm assuming you've got great relationships now, but relationships can always deepen and become something that you didn't even know that was possible in terms of connection and love and contribution to the world and general badassery. The world really needs good men. We're kind of in a crisis right now, and I know that you're already good men, but we need to train each other up to be even better, because that's what's needed. So I want to see you there.
Awesome. Gentlemen, I will wrap this up, and like I said, this will be available on replay. If you are one of my subscribers, you'll get a link to it. If you're one of Christian's subscribers, you'll probably get a link to it. And of course, again, we strongly invite you to join us either on the live stream or, even better, live in Phoenix. There should be a button that you can see that I can't see that will take you there. I'll give you the URL just in case. Well, I would give you the URL, but I don't have that. I think it's /that/howtoman.com.
It's howtoman.splashthat.com.
There it is, howtoman.splashthat.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I really hope that we delivered at least what you were expecting, hopefully more. And I'm looking forward to bringing you a lot more great stuff in the future. This is Alex Allman and Nathan Charles.
Nathan Charles.
And we will talk to you guys very soon. Have a great night.
All right. Good night, guys.